Today we've got some bold predictions for what we think Zenobia will do for the metagame in Rise of Kingdoms. Stick around for a breakdown of how we think this commander is going to influence the commanders that you should consider investing in yourself. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today we're going to be talking about this new healing legendary garrison commander in Rise of Kingdoms. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. We are a sponsored content creator, and I have very mixed feelings about garrison captains that do healing. In this video, we're going to break down the reasons that I think she might be powerful and talk a bit about her skills. We're then going to talk about the different contexts in which you might use her. That would include for defending your cities, defending structures in Ark of Osiris, the open field, and defending the ever so critical flags in Kingdom versus Kingdom. So let's first start by understanding exactly what she's doing. And we'll very briefly cover these skills because it gives context for everything we're going to talk about. Now, this commander does a heal on a nearby ally, and then a second later, she heals herself. When she does that, she gives a health bonus for 2 seconds to whomever is receiving a heal. So that includes the nearby ally and then herself. She can, in fact, heal herself twice if there are no nearby allies. That is different than Alexander the Great's shield, which if there's no nearby ally, then the extra shield doesn't go anywhere. The problem that I have with healing, and we've had this problem for a very long time now with Richard I, is that there are a ton of ways to counter it. You've got Saladin, you've got Alexander the Great, and you've even got Ramses cutting healing by 100% for 2 seconds, which is really savage. Richard has fallen out of favor in a lot of situations because of the cut to healing. In addition, I really don't like healing for rallies and garrisons, because guess how else you can get that same effect, which is basically putting more troops into the rally or putting more troops into the garrison? You reinforce the rally or you reinforce the garrison. So I really dislike active skills that can be emulated other ways simply by having more troops commit to the fight. So the situation in which healing is really, really good is one in which you can't actually get more troops into the structure you're trying to defend. Remember that, because we're going to talk more about that in a bit. The next skill, Unmatched Beauty, makes it so that she takes 15% less normal attack damage when she's garrisoning, and 15% additional normal attack damage that she deals. Now, this is very powerful. If you watched my video where we were surprised that Joan of Arc's 4th skill is improving normal attack damage and counterattack damage. Normal attack damage here means like your basic attack and your counterattack. And that's something that I didn't understand, so it'd be easy to understand why other people wouldn't have understood that as well. Well, if you want, you can check out the video with the card up in the top and see exactly how that works, and we proved that it works that way. But I suspect on Zenobia that this means that she's taking 15% less normal attacks and counterattack, and that she deals 15% more normal attack and counterattack damage. That's a big deal. That's a pretty solid anti-swarm technology, making it so that, hey, look, when everybody around her is swarming the structure, she takes less damage, and she dishes out more damage to them as well. I actually really like this, and it's very powerful. The next skill gives a solid 40% of stats, 20% health, 20% attack, all for infantry. In addition, you do 10% more damage to rallied armies. So if you are on the receiving end of a rally, she's going to do really well. You're seeing a trend here, which is that this commander is really designed to be in a garrison. I mean, I suppose you could be on the open field and receive a rally if you're counter-rallying or rallying with Zenobia, but do not, for the love of all that's holy. I mean, this is a cute idea, but don't do it. Don't. Pluralistic Reign. This makes it so you have a 10% chance when you're doing your normal attacks, if you're garrison captain, to do 600 damage factor for 3 seconds. That is a solid 1,800 damage factor over the course of 3 seconds total, and it can only trigger once every 5 seconds. That is a very, very powerful effect. And yes, all the damage up front is better because when the enemy you're hitting has less troops, they do less damage to you in return as well. But still, it's a lot of damage factor, and spreading it out over time seems honestly fine to me. It's very powerful. I mean, we really like on Alexander the Great the 10% chance to do 1,700 damage factor. Here is 1,800 damage factor with no healing reduction, but still a very powerful skill. The final skill, the expertise skill, is enhancing the effectiveness of the active skill. So now she is going to heal not one nearby allied troop, but 2 nearby allied troops. Now I sort of wonder if that means both of the heals can land on her if there's no nearby allied troop. It does say that it can heal troops led by this commander right over here. So we'll have to test that as soon as she becomes available. We are unlocking her this Mightiest Governor cycle, and we'll have her in our hands testing in a live stream this Sunday for these sorts of things, although I suppose I won't probably have her expertise for that live stream. We'll see what we end up doing. The other thing that the expertise skill is doing is boosting the effectiveness of the health gain. So it goes from 40% to 50%. That's solid. I mean, you're doing actually a lot of buffing if you hit 3 different marches with 50% health. That is a lot of health, and health is arguably the best stat in the game. So given all of this context, where will a commander like Zenobia really shine? The first thing I want to look at is city defense. I do not think she is a top tier commander or contender for city defense. And the reason for that is that, look, she's focused on infantry stats. Wouldn't you rather have a commander that gives boosts to every type of troop you have in your city? Because you're going to have archers too, and cavalry, and even siege units. Commanders that will show up higher on my tier list for defending your city are going to include Wu Zetian, Theodora, YSS. These are commanders that are giving you buffs to every single troop type in your city. Even Constantine, although he is an infantry commander, gives you more focus on buffing your own troops in your city. He gives 15% attack to all of your troop types and 5% defense. That is really quite solid. The next context I want to rule out Zenobia for is the open field. If you were thinking you're going to run around and be this crazy healer in the open field, keep in mind that her expertise skill is only going to work if you are in a garrison. Now, I don't know if a resource node is going to count as a garrison. I don't think it does. I think you're just not on the map, but you're not in a garrison or stronghold either. So that means you're going to have a heal for yourself and a heal for one nearby ally. I mean, if you are dead set on being an open field healer of sorts, and like maybe this is better than Cleopatra, I'm not even sure. I mean, this is fully in the realm of cute, but not good. You would max the first skill, unlock the third skill, try to max that, and then you're done, because the second skill is all about garrison, and the fourth skill is all about garrison. Really, open field doesn't make sense for this commander. So this leaves 2 very critical roles left for Zenobia. Will she perform well in Ark of Osiris or for flags? And I want to talk about Ark of Osiris first, because Ark of Osiris hits on that one situation where I feel like actually there could be some value, which is that you can't just teleport next to the structure you're trying to reinforce in an Ark of Osiris match. That means that healing holds more value. However, more people are swarming things in this game mode because their troops don't die. Instead, they just go to the hospital and you don't even have to heal them up after the battle has concluded. So, although she has this advantage of, yes, healing is better because you can't just infinitely dump troops into the structure, at the same time, people are much more willing to use the things that are needed to counter it. So I think that for that reason, Zenobia will fill a very interesting role as a backup captain placed into a rally that after you take the structure, you swap to the new captains, and Zenobia would become your captain. So you put your Zenobia with whatever other captain you're really interested in into a rally. You got your Herald rally with your Herald Alexander the Great's probably what it's going to be, maybe Guan Herald. And when you take the structure, you already have your Zenobia in the rally. You swap with like her and Charles Martel or her and Theodora or whoever you're really interested in. Boom, they're the captain. The healing is relevant. Healing the nearby marches is relevant. The sustain is actually pretty interesting in that context, especially the boost to normal attack damage and reducing the normal attack damage that you take. I actually am pretty interested in how that will perform and experiencing that myself. Will she, however, become a top tier Ark of Osiris garrison commander? I'm not convinced that she will. I do think that healing 2 nearby marches is going to be really solid. And in Ark of Osiris, there are a lot of situations where that's the case. Even if you're defending a structure like an altar that's close to where you've teleported in, like, yeah, there's going to be open field marches. Healing them will help. Some of those marches will even make their way into the garrison to defend it. That's all relevant. We'll see, however, how well she actually stalls. The final role for Zenobia is defending a flag. And this is where I'm really kind of the least confident about how she will perform. And the reason I'm struggling with this one is because if you try to evaluate her skills and compare to another garrison captain we know that's actually pretty good, she's not all that far off. The garrison captain that I want to compare to is a Constantine. Now, Constantine Charles Martel enters the metagame in KVK Season 2 and becomes a very, very good defense combo for flags, cities, forts, for a very long time. Even when Attila Takeda enters into the game, the Constantine Charles Martel will perform very admirably against that combo, trading even, if not positive, depending on how well you've configured them. Well, as I was looking at the skills on Constantine and the skills on Zenobia, I started to realize that even if you fully discount the heal effect that she has, she's actually still really quite good, okay? So Constantine against an Attila Takeda. And this is really our benchmark. Attila Takeda's been around for a very long time. And like, yeah, okay, we're maybe expecting some heralds are going to start running around. But if you can't beat Attila Takeda, you're basically not a relevant commander in garrison defense and Rise of Kingdoms. Like, you have to be able to beat that or they're going to rally you with it. So Constantine is offering 40% attack reduction to the enemy, 10% damage taken reduction. And I added up all of his stats. It's basically like 70% of stats. There's 40% health bonus, 10% garrison attack, as well as 20% of stats over here, broken across attack and defense. There are some other things here that are definitely relevant against Attila Takeda. You reduce damage taken from normal attacks from cavalry. That's super relevant. And like the heal over here, I mean, it's a cool one-trick pony for Ark of Osiris, but we're talking about flags right now. We don't really care about this one-time heal for a long flag defense battle against a single Attila Takeda rally, okay? So 70% of stats, a little bit of damage taken reduction, and a little bit of stat reduction on the enemy. Well, if we look at what Zenobia is doing and try to compare, we're looking at a solid 50% health boost for at least some of the time. That could be a 3-second duration if you do have Zenobia as the only nearby commander for a flag, which could be the case. The way that would work is Zenobia would heal herself for the 300 healing factor. Then on the next turn, she would heal herself again with the full 1,100 healing factor, and that should refresh the health bonus. So you should have a solid 3 seconds of uptime of 50% health, which is pretty good, even if we fully discount the value of the healing. On the next skill, you are getting a solid 30% swing on your sort of basic attacks and counter attacks, I suspect. That's massive. A lot better than the 10% you got from the Constantine. You're also getting 40% of stats here for infantry, including more health. And health is very, very good as a stat in Rise of Kingdoms. Very solid here. And you're doing 10% more damage to rallied armies. So that rallied Attila Takeda, like, it's going to take more damage. In addition, you're doing 1,800 damage factor. Can you see why I'm getting a little bit excited about the possibilities here? I could easily see that, hey, if Constantine was good with a Charles Martel, why wouldn't Zenobia be good with a Charles Martel? Couldn't that combo work better for handling Attila Takeda? Could be. Maybe it will be the case. Maybe it will not be the case. But if it is better, maybe it will even perform better than some of the other combos that we already have in the game. Like, for instance, maybe you would want to have a Zenobia Theodora sitting in a flag where you also have a YSS Theodora. And you switch between those two combos depending on what they're rallying with. I don't know exactly kind of how that will go and how this commander is going to stack up compared to someone like YSS, who does in fact offer just ridiculous amounts of stats himself. I'm not entirely sure, but I am fairly confident that when we look at her kit here, reducing the normal attack damage and counterattack damage of an Attila Takeda is a big deal. And you're also dealing normal and counterattack damage back to them, which is very effective against them. You've also got some skill damage. I don't know. I think this commander could end up being slightly better than the Constantine, with the added bonus of healing some nearby troops. The other context in which maybe Zenobia will be good for defending structures is if in the new KVK format, there is a world in which you have to defend things that you can like build towards, but you can't teleport into the zone for some reason, right? What if there is a world, and now we're like deep into theory crafting, maybe I should put on my tinfoil hat, but if that is the case where you're building toward things, but you can't actually teleport into the zone, which is kind of an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know, I like the element of risk of like, yeah, you could have your city get rallied and all that stuff is very fun, but there could be areas in which you can't teleport in, even if you're building flags and you got to defend stuff. In that world, Zenobia becomes insanely valuable. One last consideration that I want to offer for Zenobia that we absolutely have to talk about is the presence of a commander like Theodora. So we know that healing can be reduced in its effectiveness, but will a commander like Theodora negate that? And I actually think the answer is a solid no. I don't think she actually does all that much to help with the situation. Let me explain why. You're going to have to make the Theodora the primary so that she's going to use her active skill, which immediately removes all control effects, so that by the time the Zenobia's turn comes around, she can do her heal uninterrupted. So the way that's going to work is Theodora is going to fire off her active skill and immediately clear stuff. There's a turn of downtime between active skills. Zenobia is going to heal herself or nearby marches, and then Zenobia is going to do the big heal on herself. That is 3 turns. There's a solid 3 turns of time between when Theodora is going to clear debuffs and when Zenobia is going to try to heal herself. I mention that because effects like Ramses could apply literally right after Theodora has done her debuff clear. Ramses could apply the healing debuff for 2 seconds, and that would be pretty freaking savage. You could have Alexander the Great proc right after Theodora has done her clear. You could have Saladin do a debuff, right? The only commanders for which you are really actually meaningfully removing a debuff is the Saladin and the Alexander the Great, if in fact you catch them near the beginning of when they've been applied, right? So if they apply their healing debuff seconds before Theodora clears them, like, okay, you got some pretty good value there, and you're going to get your heal off, and it's going to work great. But I don't know that you really can say that the Theodora brings back healing in a big way, because you know who we haven't seen show up in Ark of Osiris? Is the Richard I Theodora combo. And so if healing was going to come back in that way, I'm pretty skeptical at best, that the Zenobia healing is going to be relevant in a meaningful way, even with a Theodora partner. Because if it was, wouldn't we see Richard I back in the fray? Richard I gives 30% of stats. He gives you 20% damage taken reduction when you factor in the expertise skill as well, which is honestly massive in terms of its effectiveness. He also gives you 10% counterattack, reduces the damage of the folks hitting. I mean, I would have thought that if we were going to see healing be relevant, that, yeah, you'd see it already with the Theodora Richard, and we really don't. In terms of pairings that I think will be really interesting to watch out for, I do think that the Charles Martel Zenobia could be very compelling with all of the shielding that you're going to be doing there, and the heal. You're going to have a lot of sustain, especially with the massive health boost both of these commanders are offering. Very defensive, solid damage boost over here as well. A lot of counterattack damage. I actually really like the Charles Martel Zenobia. I also could really get behind the combination of a Wu Zetian or Theodora with Zenobia. I've already talked a fair amount about the Theodora. I won't review that more in depth now, but I'll just mention that Wu Zetian does some healing as well, which I really like. The Wu Zetian has some great anti-swarm technology as well, damaging and silencing targets that are swarming her, which I think is really, really solid. I also really like, if we're going all in on healing, which I don't think we should, that you could use Wu Zetian primary and have the leadership and support trees, which is kind of a cool idea. If you have the leadership and support trees, that means you're getting 9% of extra healing effectiveness here and 9% of extra healing effectiveness here. I don't know. Micro optimizations, people. Micro optimizations. But as far as garrison combos go, those are the big ones that I would be looking at. Those I think could be pretty interesting to test out for a flag. Of course, Constantine could also be a pretty gangbuster combination. The 40% health over here, plus the 20% base health from the Zenobia, plus the 50% health for 2-second windows, or maybe even 3-second windows, is a lot of health. Like, that is an astonishing amount of health. Maybe that combo will work out. So to answer the big question around whether or not you should be thinking about investing in this commander, I'm going to give you a very solid hold. Right now, you should wait until whales and mega spenders, honestly, like a player like myself, runs in, gets this commander at a Mightiest Governor, and does some real testing to see how they can hold up before you even consider investing in them. I think the healing is going to be cute, but not good. I'm cautiously optimistic that the rest of her skills are in fact good enough that she'll perform better than a Constantine, but how will she do against the dreaded Herald, who might take over the rally metagame and Rise of Kingdoms? That is probably the more important question that we should be thinking about. And when you think about what garrison captains you want to go invest in, that is where we should be putting our focus, which means maybe Artemisia will start to get a little bit more interesting. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel and throwing a like on the video. It's 100% free to you and supports the channel and really is very meaningful for helping out. And if you're looking for more content with regard to Zenobia, my predictions, then check out the card up in the top where we review both Zenobia and Herald for the very first time. You can also check out my guide on Herald himself, who I think, oh my gosh, he really could shift the way things work in this game. Let me know down below in the comments if you think Zenobia is going to make a meaningful dent in the metagame and Rise of Kingdoms, or if healing is just not good enough to cut it. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.